And welcome back to the Financially Simple Experience. One of the things that I am passionate about is helping others learn from mistakes. It's been said that experience is the best teacher. I can remember hearing that several times. And then my dad would say, son, I disagree with that. Somebody else's experience is a far better teacher, because if we can learn from somebody else's experience, we often could avoid much heartache or pain or time, wasted time in a decision. I think about the first time I watched my kids get near the fireplace and I said, do not touch it, it's hot. And I would put their little hands, say, don't touch, it's hot, don't touch, it's hot, don't touch, it's hot. And you know what happens? Inevitably, they touch it some way and they end up getting a little burned. And then they know from that point forward, that is a hot fire. Unfortunately, in life, many times we face the fire. We touch the fire despite all the warnings, all the roadblocks, all the experiences that we see others go through. Friends, I hope this episode will wave some caution flags for you. What I want to deal with today specifically is the emotions that are involved when you make the ultimate sale. When you make the ultimate sale. Now, you know the very first book I wrote was The Ultimate Sale. You can find it on Amazon. You can listen to it on Audible. And then my #1 Wall Street Journal bestseller is Your Baby's Ugly. In both of those books, I deal with the idea of transacting or moving your business from a small infant sucking thing, just something that's wearing you out, into something that's highly valuable. But over the course of the last year, calendar year, I've had the opportunity, and I say that word very tactically, I've had the opportunity to link hands with individuals as they've walked through or to or past or gave up on their ultimate sale. And one of the things I personally experienced as I watched individuals do this was the emotions. Man, the emotions involved in their person when it came to potentially selling their business. After all, if we're really truthful, the business for many of us is our identity. It's our identity. We're the ones who birthed it, perhaps, or we're the ones who purchased it from a previous proprietor, and we've grown it, we've nurtured it, we've had blood, sweat, and tears in order to move the business to where the point it is today, and we're considering a transaction. Now, the transaction could be caused by health, like some people I know. It could be because of age. I have a client that's ready to retire, and it's time to move on with the business. It could be because of opportunity, where valuation numbers are just really high, and it's a great time to sell a business. But whatever the reason you might consider a transaction, there are going to be some emotions. So today I want to kind of talk through those emotions and let you know what you could potentially look out for. Now, keep this in mind. I have sold businesses, so I'm speaking firsthand from these emotions. I can remember like it was literally yesterday, every one of these emotions. And candidly, I've experienced these emotions here of late as I watch other business owners travel through this journey. The very first emotion that's going to come along is excitement. It's excitement. You mean they're interested in me? It's almost like that very first date that you may have had back in high school or college, depending on your particular belief system in dating. It's like you're just now caught the eye of the would-be suitor. You just now caught the eye of that sweetheart. And there's a business out there, or there's an investor, or there's somebody who is interested in your business. And at first it can feel like you're winning the lottery. Everything you've worked for is finally paying off. You're excited. You put years of hard work and time and energy into building your baby. For a moment, this inkling of imposter syndrome fades away. You puff your chest out. You realize that, hey, it hasn't been for naught. Your big ideas on how you're going to spend time after this chapter is done. Whenever I sell the business, what am I going to do? You start thinking about maybe that beach house that you've aspired. You start thinking about that dream car, that vacation, or that whatever it is. You start thinking about this, thinking that, okay, a big payday is coming. So there's a lot of excitement, nostalgia almost. But after the thrill, there's melancholy and nostalgia, as I just mentioned. you start wondering as you approach the decision to, yes, I sell, or no, I don't. You start questioning yourself. The exhilaration that you just experienced perhaps a day or 3 or 4 or a week earlier is now not quite the same. Yes, you're still excited. Yes, I mean, how could you not be, right? You're still excited. And now you're thinking back on all those years and you're just like, my goodness, I've impacted these lives. I've gave my word to these clients. I've given my time and energy to these customers. I can remember I was talking with an individual and I said, I bet you can look in every facet of your business and have a story around when you pick the colors out, whenever you perhaps did this particular movement with the furniture. And he said, I can actually tell you that I sliced my finger with that particular table trying to put it together one night at about 11:30. And I'm like, there you go. And this emotions, this melancholy floods back. So the excitement then goes into this somber, man, wow. What do we do? And you persevere. You get to the closing table. You sign the documents. It's no longer your business. Friends, I can remember selling my landscape company and waking up the next day jobless. Now, I was young, very young at that time, but I can remember waking up and going, I don't have work to go to. And it was bittersweet. Yes, I was thrilled. I was beyond thrilled in the fact that I made a transaction and there was some money in my pocket. But I found myself in an identity crisis for the first time ever in my life. And I was young. I was just green behind the ears, as they would say in the country. But friends, I'm dealing with individuals right now who are in the early 60s that have just experienced this, and they're waking up with almost a part of them gone. It's like they've lost their mate. Maybe not the same. I don't want to belittle that. My mom is currently a widow because of my dad's passing, and I can't imagine that pain. But I watch that same emotions boil to the top of business owners after the transaction's done. It's an identity crisis. It's like they lost their self. There's even potential, and I've seen this, for depression, for almost like a postpartum depression like I've experienced with my wife whenever after the birth of our children. It's this heaviness. And to make things worse, you're isolated. Depending on your age, you may not be able to go out and talk to your peers about what just transpired. More than likely, there's paperwork involved that's a non-disclosure where you can't even talk about what transpired. And now you're feeling sorry for yourself. You just had this significant financial windfall, more money than you've ever seen in your life. And there's a little bit of guilt that kicks in. Friends, unless you've ever faced this journey, it may sound like I've lost my mind as I approach this. But let me tell you, as a cautionary flag, I'm sitting here waving the flag, that if you're considering selling your business, then emotions is something that we're going to have to think about. Why, though? Why? Why is it that we entrepreneurs, that we business owners struggle emotionally after we've worked so hard to get to where we're at? There was a study done in 2017 by the university that found that entrepreneurs are attached to their business in the same ways that parents are attached to their babies. I heard in my early career as a financial planner, there's a few things that will destroy a family. One of those is a loss of a child. Whether it's a physical loss, like they passed away, or an estranged loss where they just don't want to have anything to do with the parent. It will destroy a family. It will destroy a family. It's one of the leading causes of suicide. It's amazing. And here we are. A study proves that whenever our business leaves us, it's as if a child, like we've just lost our child. No wonder we are so defensive as business owners whenever someone comes and says, hey, your baby's ugly, like I wrote about in my book. We love our businesses. We view them as our babies. According to the Exit Planning Institute, 75% of former business owners regret selling their companies. 75%. That's amazing, friends. this thing that we work our entire life for, that we strive, that we push, that we pull, that we have sleepless nights on, that we pour every ounce of our ability and candidly every ounce of our family's ability into this position because we don't understand the emotions. We never take time to stop and look at what's going to take place in our lives. 75% of us regret selling our companies. That's the emotional toll. So let's switch it around a little bit. How do we prepare? We've got to deal with us, you and me as the business owners. We have to look at us as humans outside and disconnected from the business. I can remember my mom and dad one time, they were having an argument about an onion. It was silly, and they laughed about it later on. And I can remember my dad saying, "Son, when you're gone, I'll still be with your mom." In other words, whenever the kids were out of the house, we're still going to be together. And they did. They stayed together until my dad passed away. On the personal side, though, whenever we relate to our business, we are going to go through separation. So let me ask you the question. You're considering selling your business. Maybe it's this year or next year or sometime in the near future. Maybe you're building it to sell, built it to sell. That's what I've been working for, building a company to sell. How will you occupy your time after the business is no longer part of your life? I'm reminded of a question that Jeff Jetter in my office asked me. He said, "Justin, if you had unlimited time and unlimited resources, what would you do tomorrow that you're not doing today?" My answer was, I'd like to go catch a 10-pound plus largemouth bass. I'd like to hunt and find a Boone and Crockett buck. I'd like to go spend a month in the mountains of Colorado, Wyoming, or Idaho. I'd love to get into the Rocky Mountains and just see animals and just spend time by myself. I'd like to take family vacations. I want to create a foundation. My wife and her family's from the Philippines. Perhaps have an orphanage at some point. I want to be more involved in my church. So let me ask you. You're considering selling your business in a year, 2, 4, 5, whatever it is. What does your life 2.0 look like? Now's the time to do it. For me, it would be, I want to spend more time learning a different style of piano. I've always liked the R&B gospel style with diminished and flats and sharps and using arpeggios versus more of a classical or like a Southern church style music. I've always liked that. I was the other day sitting down playing some AC/DC on the piano. I even switched over to Sweet Child of Mine. I was having fun with the riffs in that on the piano. But I think I would love to spend more time learning a different style of piano. What about you? What would you like to do? How are you going to occupy yourself? On the personal side, one of the things we look at is this identity. So my question for you, when you're looking at this identity of you and the business being synonymous, to avoid depression and to avoid the issue of identity, let me ask you this question. Why are you interested in selling your business? If you don't know the why, if you're considering this now, if you don't know the why, then how do you know you're making the right decision? Are you just trying to sell the business because it's tough? Friends, I've sat through this many, many times with clients. If you're just selling the business because it's tough, after the fact, you're going to regret it because you're going to now, once you get a little bit of reprieve, a little bit of rest, you're going to come back and say, man, I wish I would have maintained this because I knew I could have grown it. But why are you selling the business? Is it for health? Time? Financial opportunity? Is it because you've lost passion? Why are you selling the business? If you can identify that clearly, and it's not money-driven or fear-driven, then you can avoid the issues of identity and depression that comes when you separate this entity from yourself. But let's not forget one last thing, is that even though you've considered selling your business, and even though you've wrestled through the emotions, and now you're in the process, you're going to have to fake it till you make it a couple times. You're going to have to fake it till you make it, using that imposter syndrome yet again, to convince your team that you're making the right decision. You're going to have to convince the buyer that you're making the right decisions. You're going to have to convince yourself that you're making the right decision. Despite the massive change that you're looking at and the exciting news that you're getting, you're going to have to share discord amongst yourself with the closest people possible so they can question you and speak into you, while all the same putting a masquerade, a facade on to let your team, your customers, your clients, the buyers, your family, whoever it may be, realize that, you know what, you really just don't have a clue. You think you're doing what's right, and man, I hope I'm doing what's right. There will be some impression management you have to do. And as the deal approaches, as the deal consummates, as the deal gets closer and closer to the finish line, you're going to have to work on that management to make sure that everything moves forward to consummation. Once it's done, you're still dealing with impression management. You're now having to convince yourself, those around you, that as you've disconnected, as you've severed a part of your life through this transaction, that you're okay. You say, man, Justin, this is a pretty heavy episode. The reason why I bring this to you today is because over the last few months, I've had the opportunity to walk hand in hand with many business owners through this process. And what I watched is some business owners made it through the process. They were able, through sound wisdom, sound advice, sound preparation, manage the emotions. And now the consummation's been done. The business has been sold. They've had a liquid event. And now they are moving into this chapter 2.0 of their life a little less turbulent. Others never made it to the finish line. They weren't prepared mentally, physically, emotionally to make the ultimate sale. And candidly, with a few of them, they never will. Candidly, for a few of them, this thing that they have, this baby that they've birthed, this baby they've worked on for so many years, trying to nurture it, will ultimately just perish, will go into atrophy. The customers that they love will find somebody else. The team that they aspire to be with every day will not have long-term positions. Friends, I've seen it too many times. So my challenge to you is this. You're thinking about selling. Great. We can do all the academics. We can run the numbers. We can work on the intangible assets, the tangible assets. We can work on both of them. We can work on every aspect of the business. But unless you are emotionally prepared to go through the process of selling, or walk away, or sell and then not go into a tailspin personally, unless you're emotionally prepared, you will be the statistic. You will be. 75% of business owners wish they would have never sold. It's pretty amazing, friends. You say, Justin, man, I don't even know where to start. Yes, I realize I'm going to have to sell my business to bridge the gap. I realize I'm going to have to sell my business in order to get enough funds so my family and I can retire. I'm going to have to do that. There is no way possible for me to save my way to retirement. Then, friends, you need some help. Reach out to us. This is what we do. We have a team of business advisors and planners who know how to come alongside and help you prepare financially, help you prepare your business. And we can work with people that can help you prepare emotionally. We can team you up with advisors like myself who have sold businesses. We can do that. My challenge to you is don't sit back. If you're thinking about selling, don't let the emotions of business prevent you from reaching your dreams. Friends, I realize this is hard. It is. Most of us business owners are not touchy-feely. We can't afford to be. We have to charge hell with a water pistol. We have to climb up the mountain with everything raining down on us. That's who we are. And it is hard, but it doesn't have to be. Hey, let's continue to make our lives at least financially simple. Y'all go out and make it a great day.